Welcome to the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. I am your host, Rob Gauthier, the ET Whisperer. The Enlightenment Evolution Hour is a part of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Any ideas expressed by the guest, myself, or commenters may not necessarily reflect the same opinions of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Enlightenment defined. It is the state of giving or receiving greater knowledge and understanding about a certain subject or situation. Evolution defined. The gradual development of something, especially from a simple to more complex form. So what is Enlightenment Evolution? The state of giving and receiving greater knowledge as we develop from a simple to more complex human being living on Earth for our soul's experience. Welcome now and join us as we explore our Enlightenment Evolution Hour together. The Enlightenment Evolution Hour is simulcast live every Wednesday at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific from the Enlightenment Evolution Hour page, Matrix Minds Facebook page, and the ET Whisper YouTube channel. It is also redistributed from the Forbidden Knowledge News Network and Conscious Awakening Network. Hey everybody, welcome to the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. I'm your host, Rob Gauthier, and yes, it is that time again. Welcome. I see some of you who are popping in on my personal Facebook page. You can always click that link that I've got shared on my Facebook page that brings you to YouTube if you want, or you can stay right there and hang out. That's fine. Welcome everyone. We have a wonderful guest today. Cendrine is a lady I've had a chance to meet and connect with for over the last 6 months, and she is absolutely amazing, and we're going to bring her in just a few minutes. But before then, we got to do announcements. Show announcements, there's really none. I have some guests lined up, and the dates are falling in. I haven't had a lot of time to really focus on getting the guests in specific brackets at the moment for dates, but the announcements will be coming, and if you show up on a Wednesday, you're going to be here. Tat, the Atom Twister, made a good point. 200 episode is coming up really soon, and maybe we should do something kind of special for that one. Also, for the network, same thing. If you want to see the Out There Talk with Valiant himself, you can always go there on Tuesday and Wednesday nights at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. That's 8:59 Pacific. And go to his Instagram live page at Out There Talk with Valiant himself. An amazing dude with an hour show on topics that are out there. And Kalina and I have both been guests there. A lot of people that we know have been guests there. It's a great show. For the ET Whisper announcements, for those of you who don't know, I am not going to the Conscious Life Expo. Situation popped up. Everyone's okay. Everyone's alive. No one's hurt. No one's in the hospital. But a family situation did pop up, which excluded me from being able to make it there. And as unfortunate as it is, I went really hard to try to get that to work, and it just did not work. So I will be at the Sedona Ascension Retreat, which will be in February and March, and it will have Daryl Anka there, Wendy Kennedy, Sean Swanson, both good friends. Sean Swanson is going to be on a show here in the near future. We're going to lock that date down soon. He's an amazing dude. If you haven't heard him channel, he's a great dude. He's been on a couple of our channel panels, an amazing guy, and he'll be here soon. And in June, I will be with the one and only Ruben Langdon as he's doing an event in Mount Shasta. And when that happens, I will announce that. I believe it's going to be around the 18th, 19th, 20, 21, 22, 23 era of June, maybe around that time. But either way, as soon as I get announcements, I'm also going to be at the Human Colonies event in August in New York. And that's going to be basically a whole bunch of us going out in the middle of nowhere on a gigantic place that is a nature reserve that has cabins, and we're just going to hang out there. All these things I will announce as it gets closer, and as the time reaches for it. And if you guys did not see the interview on Rumble that I did with Forbidden Knowledge News Network, it's an amazing interview. Chris Matthew is the guy who runs that network, and he's an amazing guy. I've been on a show a few times. It's always fun. It's always good. And this time we talked about sexuality, human sexuality, ET sexuality, just sexuality in general, helping heal traumas from sexuality and all the cool things there. I am posting that link in the description for all locations except for my private Facebook. If you're on the private Facebook, you'll have to come to YouTube to get that link, but it's already up on my private Facebook anyway. I use that because I haven't got connected back into the Matrix Minds page yet. I still have got to talk with Matthew Turner about that, and we'll figure that out. But I think that's enough for announcements, guys. I want to introduce to you a lady who I've gotten to know for over the last 6 months, and it has been a great pleasure of mine. She is an amazing human being, an amazing channeler, an amazing consciousness entity being, however you want to put it. All together, she is just absolutely amazing. And I'm going to tell you, well, I'm trying to tell you a little bit about, but my page froze up, of course, as it does sometimes. But Cendrine is the founder and leader of the Golden Age Spiritual Ministry, a nonprofit here to help humans remember the truth of their sovereign multidimensionality. She is also a spiritual teacher, ascension mentor, and trance channel for the Arcturians, and her channeling is great. I've got firsthand experience being around that energy, and I've watched back the tapes where we channeled together. It's absolutely amazing. She was born awake and learned to embrace the journey of self-empowerment through experiencing many challenges in her life. She always knew that she came to Earth for a very special mission, and that would shift the consciousness of humanity forever. And I could talk for a long time about who Cendrine is or what she does, but I think the best way to get to introduce her to all of you is to bring her in and let her say that for herself. Welcome, Cendrine. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you making time to do this.
Oh, thank you so much, Rob. Thank you for the lovely introduction. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy you're here too. And getting to know you has been an amazing thing. And this is always the reason why, after I connect with people and I have a good time with them, I bring them in on the show because I want other people to get to know you like I got to know you. And even though maybe they can't do that in just an hour or 90 minutes, it gives them a little bit better of an idea. So I want to start with you, where I start with all the guests that I ever have. And that's not so much what your story is, because I do want to talk about that, and that is important. But I want to find out the things in your early life that shaped you. Now, I know in the intro you said that you were kind of born awake and that you realized that young as a kid, but what kind of things in your early life shaped you to be this person who had that open experience and that kind of allowed you to have the story unfold?
I love this question, Rob. Thank you so much for asking that. It's interesting because revisiting our past can bring so much light upon things that happen, and we thought, oh, it was completely normal, or everybody experienced that. But actually, as we grow up, realize, no, that's not the case. So when I was little, I did not realize that not everyone could talk to spirit or see ghosts or perceive the future, being visited at night. I would just keep it to myself because I was always kind of an introvert. And sometimes I would talk to my mother, and my mother was really open. She was really spiritual. And then she would take me to psychic, to Sufi camps in France, to different spiritual gathering and things like that. So she was really open, and she exposed me to a whole bunch of people that were really open. And so I could receive that. But still, I felt that there was no real support in an educational way. So I felt more and more attacked by lower frequency beings that I didn't know how to handle it. And when we were living in the countryside, we are really in a remote area, and my mom was not in a happy place herself because she's going through a very hard time with my dad, and then they got divorced when I was 7. And so I really went into my shell, and I basically did not want to load her with the things that were happening to me. So I had a lot of visitation at night from both entities, but also ships. And it's taken me a while to actually remember that through hypnosis, and also confirmation for my guide that it was indeed happening. So I pretty much kept all of that to myself, and I was just every night praying my angels and praying my team to close my psychic ability off, because it was unbearable. I just could not handle it. I hated it because I did not see how it was helping me in life. On the other hand, it was creating more distortion to my understanding that bringing any good. So I actually managed to close my crown chakra, my third eye, and a lot of my chakras to the minimum possible, and it resulted in having a lot of migraines and headaches from the age of 12 years old onward. So I had a lot of problems as a teenager, and every now and then I would still have like really weird experiences, but I kind of completely rejected them. I cut that off, but at the same time I was so interested, to go and see psychics and go and see people. So I was really experiencing duality that I feel a lot of people might relate with, is that on one hand, we perceive that we have these gifts, these powers inside of ourselves, but on the other hand, we don't really understand them, so we reject them. And then we are really interested in what other people do because it speaks through us unconsciously. And I feel that a lot of people might be drawn to the work that you and I do, Rob, because they also know that they were, psychic, that they are psychic, that they can channel. It's just that they don't know how to master that. And so seeing other people really saying yes to remembering how to handle those gifts is actually really appealing and can help people step into a journey of empowerment. So to me, I talk more about being empowered than being awake, because that was really my journey. It was remembering who I am and how I can handle myself, and I can learn, to reopen my gift in a safe and harmonious way.
Well, I really love that, and I love that idea too. Instead of awake, empowered, because that the empowered implies that you have the energy inside of yourself to open your consciousness and to do the work. And awaken does have some connotations that our community, a lot of people use it in a derogatory term, like, "Hey, I'm really awakened," and these people are just so low
Yes.
vibe, and there's a lot of judgment that people do that, but.
Yes.
So I can appreciate that. And, tell us too a little bit, because you said your grandmother took you to the Sufis in France. Your name,
Yeah.
Cendrine Sauvenier. I think I said that correctly, Sauvenier.
Yes, very well. That's amazing.
Oh, thank you. I've got a French last name and I don't even pronounce my own name right. So I'm glad I made that one. But your background is French. I know now you don't live in France, but that's where you came from. Can you tell us a little bit that you spent time in the US and you spent time in New Zealand? Kind of tell us a little bit about what was different in the energy of the people in France, and how did that change your dynamic of growth? If you, let's say, if you would have been born in somewhere else like America or like New Zealand.
Oh, I love this question. That's such a good question. I was born in Belgium, actually. I'm from Belgium, but I do speak French, and being born there in Europe is just, I mean, it's beautiful, It's beautiful. The food is delicious. I love the fashion. So there is nothing wrong about Europe. But what I have found from, like leaving my home country and living now in New Zealand, I've been in New Zealand for 15 years. It has allowed me to deconstruct a lot of subconscious programming and a lot of enslavement templates that I was trapped into, as a lot of us are. We think we have to be a certain way. And in those places, my mom, as well as my dad and one of my grandmother, they were really connected to kind of this underground network of people who do like a lot of spiritual work. And we couldn't really talk about it because there was still a lot of, I don't know, like judgments. My parents were really not really excited to be open about that. So I felt that through my upbringing, I kind of had to hide my gift away because it was dangerous. Other people would judge me or not understand me. So that was really passed on from my parents. And I'm not sure if it was justified or not. I'm not, like judging my parents or other people. It was just, what they believed in. And when I went to the States, for example, I was really blown away, especially in Sedona, Sedona is just a spiritual hub. And I feel like, oh my God, if I had been born born there, it's like the cultivation of freedom is much more anchored, like freedom in the United States can be really felt, as well as abundance. Actually, there is something that's really open and vast. We always think, well, it's the center of the world. This is, like the world politics, the movies, the music, everything comes from the US, like US dominion. But having been there, I can really feel that there is indeed like such a powerful, strong energy of connection between people, but also so many places that are like massive portals, and people go there and then connect with ETs and then do all of these things out there in the open. And I find that it's probably easier to speak your truth there. I might be wrong, but that's what I perceive from my experience.
Yeah, it's very unique in the U.S. There's the places like Sedona, which are amazing and really open, and then you have very dense places like the Midwest, where I live.
Yeah.
And I know I shared some of that with you about the difference in the way drivers were, and we had another person who was riding with us too when we were talking about this, and she actually lived in Illinois, so she understood that Midwest energy too. So it is a very mixed place because it is so big and it is so open. But I think you're right. Now, I'm not a world traveler by any means, and for whatever reason, I knew you lived in Belgium, that's where you came from, but for whatever reason, my brain, it must be the name sounds French, so my brain
Yes,
just
it
went to
does.
it. So, but yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. And so take us where you're from, this young kid to a teenager, and now you're opening your own self up, and take us from that to where you start working with channeling, and where you start channeling, and then where you start channeling for other people.
I love that. I was always fascinated and interested in everything occult, psychics, channeling. So I read a lot about it, and my mom would take me to these people. I learned to read the runes and tarot reading and astrology, all of these things. And it fascinated me. I've always been fascinated about studying people. And for example, I remember that as a young child, I would sit by a river and I would question, and I would have all of these kind of very deep question about what incarnation would be the most pleasant, being the rock in the river or the water of the river. And I would go into like deep contemplation and then go back to mom and talk about, like how I perceive the life of a rock and the life of the water. And my mom was like, yeah, it's like, very good, very, very good. And I always had this kind of like really weird observation or questions that other kids didn't have. And when I was a teenager and I started high school, we moved from the countryside to a big city. And I started college and like a high school, if you know, and everything changed because I arrived there and people tried to bully me because I was, coming from the countryside. I didn't have these proper clothes and I was a bit different. I didn't know anything about music, but classical music and things like that. But instead of falling into like a victim, I thought like, this is not okay. I'm gonna be on top of the game. I'm not here to be like, bullied or anything. I've always had zero tolerance for bullying. So basically I stood up for myself and I changed my entire wardrobe, my clothes, my style, my way of being. So I literally created a new version of self that was fitting in. And I made so many friends, and then I discovered cigarettes, I discovered alcohol, I discovered weed, and I went right into it from the age of 14. And for a long time, I thought, oh, I had such a troubled teenage years, but actually, like these things allowed me to see life as a party and to have a lot of parties instead of being really highly depressed, to be honest, because I had very dark moments where I thought like, I cannot stay in this place, like Earth is way too horrible for me. I will never be able to handle it. Like there will never be peace on this Earth. There's no way that humans can live in peace. Humans are horrible. I hate them. I hate myself. And I just want
Oh.
to leave. So I decided that I would just, have a great party as a teenager, and I did. So I had a lot of amazing parties, lots of boyfriends. I went on all sorts of benters. My poor mom, she went through a lot, but I came out to the other side. As I age, I guess I kind of slowed down and became a bit more responsible. And then I got married and we moved to New Zealand. And what's interesting is that when I met my ex-husband, I told him, look, like spirituality is my entire life and it will always come first. So if you cannot handle it, we will not stay together. And he kind of didn't really get it because at the time I was just meditating and practicing yoga, which was really weird a bit for him, but it was easy to handle. So as I went more and more into it, because basically like it became like a need for survival. I just needed to know myself, to reopen myself. So that's what I did. I started focus all my time, energy, and money as a young mother to really understand my gifts. And as I started working as a massage therapist, as soon as I placed my hands on the body of a person, I would receive all of these images about their past life. I would connect with their spirit guides. So I went to Reiki, and next thing you know, of course, I was doing like all of these crazy things, working with the Arcturians and the Syrians with cosmic surgeries. And I had so many connections, but everything was still, no one was talking about it. I had not really anyone to teach me what was going on. So I just kept on doing it. And yes, sure thing, like my passion, it like really just became my entire life, my reason to live. So I separated in very good terms with my ex-husband because that was not what he appreciated me doing. And he told me very clearly and in a peaceful way, he said, like, I really don't like it. And I said, well, I'm going to do that for the rest of my life and expand that. So I don't think we can stay together. And it's like, I agree. So it was like mutual decision of, based on self-respect. So after that, I basically just like expanded very fast because all my time, energy, and money, like I was not hindered in any way. My energy was free to move into like what it wanted to move into. And I started trance channeling the Arcturians, which really pivoted my embodiment of my multidimensional self, because the precision of the connection, the precision of the channeling, the teachings that have brought into my life has changed everything. So there is a life before and after trance channeling, as you might know. I was channeling before, but it was very different. Like trance channeling really took everything, like my life, my identity, to a completely new level.
Yes, absolutely. Anytime you connect with the type of consciousness that becomes integrated, like in deep trance channeling, and or even conscious channeling at a level, if you're doing it all the time, every day, it just
Yeah.
becomes a part of your identity. It becomes a part of who you are. Um,
Yes.
yeah, so I get it, and it's the same thing. It's the same reason why myself and my ex got a divorce, unfortunately, because of the situation and a bigger picture thing. We had been together since I was like a teenage kid, 14, and then we had this mutual child when I was
Yes.
19. It wasn't so nice, and it's funny. It's taken over 10 years, and we're finally starting to really be able to communicate like we used to, which is really
Oh,
nice.
yes.
But it's nice to have done it on good terms, having the understanding that, hey, I didn't sign up for this, and hey,
Yeah.
I am, and I'm doing it. I'm glad you
Yes.
guys are able to do it nicely, especially with kids involved.
Yes, exactly.
Well, that's great. So take us from that point now where you're like, this is my life, this is my energy, and how you started working with other people doing it. I know from most people I've talked to that it just kind of happens. They might do it for a friend, or they're doing it in some group where they have common interests with people about channeling or something, and then it just kind of snowballs from there. How did that work for you?
Yes. So when I started messaging, I had a lot of things coming up, but people were coming for massage sessions, not for psychic readings or not for healing or anything like that. So I started asking for permission to some people to say, look, I've just given you a massage, but as I was touching you, I have like a few things that started flowing through me. Would you be open to hearing that? And some people would say yes, and some people would be like, that no, thank you. That sounds really weird. And so every time I would share whatever came through, people are like really mind blown with the information and how they resonated with it in their body. They were covered in goosebumps. They're like, oh my God, that's relevant to my life. Thank you so much. And so I started looking for a way to practice that. And where I was living, it was a really small village, but I met this amazing woman, and every Monday she gathered people at her house, and we would just basically practice like psychic abilities. So one person would share something that was happening in their life, and everybody would tune in and would share what they saw and what they perceived. So I went there and I realized that actually I was like extremely precise, and I could download a huge story and a huge deal. So it gave me a lot of confidence. So from there, I asked these ladies if they wanted to come to practice, and I would offer them sessions. And my biggest worry was to make it on command, because even as a teen or as a young adult, for example, when someone would talk about a loved one that had passed away, instantly, bam, the spirit was there in the in the room, and I was like, oh my God, here it comes. And I did not really like it, but the people were like, oh my God, like some people were really frightened. But it's like it was coming out of nowhere. Same with my team of like my high council of light, which I co-create with. Like they would come in as I was, working at the bank or in the middle of the street or at university. So it was all over the place. So that the fact that I was able to practice on my friend and like sit in meditation and say, okay, like now, can you come, guys? Like, can you help me out? I was like, is this happening? I was really, actually, you see, this is why for me empowerment is so important, like courage, confidence, practice, and so on, because this is what I needed, and this is what I tapped into. I tapped into my own courage, into my confidence, but also to let go of any need to be amazing, to nail it, to be super precise, like whatever comes, comes. And it started being very playful, but also very powerful. And basically, there was not one single time where I could not channel. So from offering that for free against feedback, then I started charging for that, and then it started to grow and grow more and more. And that was just channeling and doing psychic healing, like using Reiki and other things that, were beyond Reiki, because Reiki really quickly become very limited, for me.
And that's beautiful, and that makes sense to the progression of that energy. Very familiar with most everyone I talk to about it, how they just kind of fall into it from their own either experience or their actual ability to connect with that energy, and then it's like boom, and they do it and practice it. And because I didn't have anyone in my personal life to really practice it with, I just started practicing with the public, and that's how I ended up doing really well with it.
I love that.
At first, yeah. So that's amazing. And you know, now you're doing a lot of different things with your work. You're doing a lot of channeling for people and a lot of other things, but this class that you started, the school that you started, this is something that I have personally been involved with. I just spoke, I think it was last week, wasn't it? Or the week before.
Yes, I think like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Can you share
Yeah.
a little bit with us kind of about what's involved with it and kind of all the aspects of what you teach through it and kind of how you run that? Because I know that this is something that's not like some courses you would come in and, hey, we're doing it for 6 weeks, and if you're here, that's great, and if you're not, that's fine. But this is an interactive, and it's more, to me, it feels like not just coursework or not just a series of meetings, but it's actually like an academy, a school,
Yes, definitely. I love that because I really relate and connect a lot to the role of teacher. I just like the energy that flows through me. We love teaching, and so it is a school of channeling, and I call it Iria. And Iria is a very special name for me because the first quantum healing hypnosis session I did 14 years ago, I straight away, like usually people go in past lives and things like that. But as we know very well with Dolores Cannon, we can travel in all sorts of places. And so I straight away went to my first origin, the very first moment where actually I became a consciousness, and it was in a realm that no longer exists, in a galaxy that's no longer exists, and I called it Iria, and since then it stayed. And when I was looking for a name, I was like, this is the name, because it is the land of dreams, it is the land of eternal creation, of purity, of light. This is my heart, this is my soul. So I call it this way, and I really like it. And in this school, I help people become extraordinary channels. So it's really like using their own blueprint, their own architecture, but also what they feel drawn to do to expand that and find a unique voice, the unique way. And so I have students that are already channels and trance channels, but they want to get better. Basically, they want to refine their style. They want to understand more about the intricacies of their multidimensional network, because we teach a lot about architecture of life and quantum dynamics. And so it's kind of like really geeky in a way, which people love when they co-create with me, like the Arcturians. Look, I'm very Arcturian and Syren coded, so it's like really all of this kind of opening up a codex and going really deep within. So this is what we do with channeling. It's a 1-year school, and people get certified as channel. And to me, I'm so excited about this. This is my passion, because this is what I would have loved to have when I was younger. If I had met someone who could have helped me, that would have said, oh my God, yes, like, please help me, because I do not understand what's going on. And so, yeah, I have all sorts of people. They're all amazing. They're all amazing, beautiful, heart-centered people that are very powerful channels. And it's wonderful, because we do a lot of group practice, and I see them shift very fast, because it's all about courage, confidence, empowerment. So we work a lot on connecting so much to our oversoul, to our higher self, to the multidimensional being that we are, that fears and limitations don't really matter anymore. We don't bypass things. We don't try to avoid things. We don't try to avoid pain, suffering, or trauma, or anything like that. We just place ourselves as an angel, as the angelic consciousness of our human, and it gives us the opportunity to really reclaim our unique divine genome, the embodiment of it, and everything much faster than we do otherwise. So I'm super passionate about it, because the results are seen and experienced in all areas of life, not just in opening up channeling and psychic abilities, but also in up-leveling other areas of life. As you know very well, that it happens, like our life change, we become different people when we start channeling beings of the light.
Absolutely, and I think you're right. Having that tool for people is something that's hugely amazing. Like, just like when I started channeling, there was no one out there who was teaching it. If they were not easily accessible. You couldn't find them very easily or very quickly. And getting someone who knows how to channel at a very good or deep level and be able to walk you through those dynamics is a huge gift. But from my understanding too, with the way that you work with your own guides and the way that you work with everyone else, you have not just the individual things, because everyone has to learn to channel differently. It's almost impossible for everyone to say, okay, steps 1 through 10, and everyone can channel if you just do these 10 steps, because everyone's so different. But you're customizing that energy, and you're bringing them in to be a part of helping each other, which isn't very a normal practice either. And I think that's always even more powerful, because now you have different people who are learning in different ways and are receiving information in different ways, and bring that through in different ways, and now they can bounce it off each other, not just one teacher. And one teacher is great. I mean, if you have a good teacher, that's perfect. But having dozens of teachers at once, I mean, that really brings it home.
Totally. Yes, definitely. I love that. Yes, it's fascinating to also, like, see the information that my students receive and share. And how I continuously need to break a pedestal. Like a lot of people place, like channelers or spiritual teacher or mentors like on a pedestal. Oh, that person is better because they have access to EDs and multidimensional beings of the light, and I don't. And actually, like this kind of separation template is comparison syndrome. Like you compare yourself to other, is actually creating the distortion, preventing you from realizing that you are already channeling as well. It's just that you don't know that you're doing it, because like everybody channels, only people, they used to plug themselves into channeling like the wounded inner child, or like basically the television broadcast about like the world is ending, with all of these illnesses and diseases, and so it's like basically to me channeling is the process of giving and receiving information. So when you learn to plug into your own heart, into your own soul, into your spirit guides, your council of light, then the information, the quality becomes very different, and then you can grow your confidence because you realize that you are not like a broken soul trapped in the wheels of karma. That's such an illusion. No, you are powerful beyond measure. You're a creator of your reality. And you're here to be, to remember that and to embody that and to say unapologetically yes to receiving everything that you are, and like God, the universe, whatever people want to call it, like this greater force, this greater light, that creates life, so that can flow through you and you can shine that light to others. So it's always interesting to me to see and to work with the two sides of the coins. On one hand, it's like really boosting your confidence and remembering like you're so badass, you're powerful, you're very gifted, but at the same time it's like a lot of humility. Yes, you are extraordinary and unique, but at the same time, you're not very special because everybody is extraordinary and unique. So there is no pedestal. You're not better than anyone else. You were not Isis or Jesus in another life because they were their own beings, and they are not back here as you think they might. And so we see a lot of, like sometimes we laugh about it, I know, but like a lot of inflated egos, I would say, in the spiritual community. And I'm like, oh dear. It's just like
Well,
yeah.
this is a really important part of it too. You say confidence, empowerment, self-empowerment is so important. Is it the most important thing? Because I've noticed, self-trust going hand in hand with that feeling of empowerment, but also, you know, mm, that's from my experience with other people. Self-trust is one of those big things. So kind of tell us what's the most important thing about channeling, and what are the most important things about getting past that line where you don't think you can to knowing that you can.
I love this question. I just want to share like a snippet of my story, as we talked about that before, because I think it really illustrates what I'm sharing right now. Is one day I was a young adult and I was just walking down the street in Brussels, capital of Belgium, and I was just like happy just to walk down the streets, and all of a sudden I felt these five beings of amazing energy, like light beings all around me, and I was like, oh, what the hell, because usually they would never show up like this so clearly, so precisely, and just as I walked down the street, right? And so I was like, oh, okay. And I felt, for a moment, I felt really badass. I was like, oh, I'm just walking down the street with my, spirit guide friends, and it's awesome. They're awesome. And I started, telepathically connecting with them. And one of them said, I said to them, like, oh, why are you here? And who are you? And one of them said, oh, we are your friends. We are your family. And we are here to work with you. Like, we are working with you. And you are one of us. And as soon as this being said to me, you are one of us, I rejected that information, because I said, no, it's impossible. I cannot be one of you because I am so broken. I am such a bad human. I've stolen in my life. I've done so many drugs. I was really mean at times. I've lied, I've cheated, I'm basically like a shitty human. I'm trapped in the wheels of karma. I'm on planet Earth. So I had this like belief system coming from a misunderstanding of the karmic cycles that I must have sinned and I must be really bad, if I'm on planet Earth. So how could I possibly be one of them? So I rejected that and I said, like, no, that's a lie, like I cannot be one of them. And instantly the connection stopped. And I just had this like last message, like, you are one of us and we love you. And you are actually more powerful than us because you have the body and we don't. And I was like, this is crazy. And so basically I was so upset. I was really upset for a long time, but it took me 15 years to understand what they were saying. And it's just like, yeah, I'm one of them. Literally, I sit with them in the high council of light. It's just that I happen to be the human projection. And it's not big deal. They say I have the more power than them because I have the body, because yeah, I can send an email, I can do a phone call, I can be on a podcast with you, I can be on an episode with you, like I have a human voice. So it is easy for me to carry the messages and the frequency that we are here to bring on the planet because I have the body. But that is all. And so this is why for me empowerment is everything, because I had to deconstruct my belief system and why I hated myself so much, why I thought I was like such a low vibe human. So it was really a journey of reconnection with my own heart, with my love for myself, with my appreciation for humanity, because I had to. If I didn't do that work on myself, I would not have the connection I have with them today, because I need to maintain the frequency of joy and lightness, but also of power and confidence, and having a really strong backbone, like being very courageous to be able to do the work that I was born to be doing. So this is really what I think illustrates the most what people are called to awaken to. Like for me, awakening's got nothing to do with discovering that the government is lying and controlling us. Like awakening is really remembering the truth of your own divinity, because once you live as a sovereign multidimensional being, once you live as a sovereign courageous human, nothing can enslave you. Literally, you are untouchable, you are unbreakable, because you know your freaking power and you know how much help you have, in the quantum with your guides and everything, and you can just like your life and changes completely.
I really love the example you gave too, because that does represent, to me, probably the biggest part of people not being able to connect. Oh,
Mm.
you want a channel, right? Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, well, you already are connected to your higher self. You're already connected to your guides. No, no, no. No,
No.
I can't be.
No.
Not me. And that's the biggest block for all. And the other one is self-trust too. A lot of people are getting information and they're
Yeah.
consciously putting an effort to get information to come in, but they're like, I don't know if this is me, I don't know if it's something or someone else, I don't know if it's right or wrong. How have you saw some of the better ways to deal with that with people who are going through that? What's some of the things, because to be honest, I talk to a lot of channelers a lot of times, but not many channelers teach channeling. Daniel Scranton, me, you, and maybe two or three others that I can think of right off the top of my head, but most of them don't teach it. They don't want to
Mm.
touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
It's not easy, right, to teach channeling to
No.
people. So what are kind of those things that you see that help people who are getting something but they're not sure where it's coming from?
For me, the first step is to really be connected to the body, because when the body has a physical reaction to an information, it shows that this information resonates with an aspect of our multidimensional self, like of our consciousness. And so this piece of information could make the body react through goosebumps, or like a feeling of being warm or cold, so like clairsentience. And this is often the the most present, the easiest to connect with. So when a piece of information comes into the field, and it can be through anything, it can be exactly through the news broadcasted by the government, and the body reacts like the body reacts with fear, and it closes off, and we have like a lot of pressure in the chest, and all of a sudden the thoughts become dark thoughts, like we are doomed, it's the end of the world, it's like diseases, illnesses, alien invasion, and so on. So it's like that information is not an information that's coming off the light. It is an information that it's coming from simply the separation templates of control of humanity. So then, as a sovereign being, you can choose, do I actually want to take this on board because this makes me really feel sick to my stomach to think this way, or do I discard it and I say, like, no, like, thank you very much, but that's not the reality I want to be a part of. And when we receive information, and that is other information that could trigger us, because like, oh, that's really out there and so on, but then we feel like there is this kind of like, oh, curiosity always shows that the window of awakening and empowerment is opening up, because it's like our inner being, like our soul saying, listen carefully, there is a piece of information there for you that would be very interesting. And then when we receive messages, I always say to my students, look, if the information is high vibrational, it will be loving, caring, kind, but it can also poke you. It can poke you gently, like my Arcturian friends and my Syrian team, and also the dragons that I co-create with, they constantly shake me, they push me. It's like, go for it, what are you waiting for? The moment is here. But it's always positive. It's always like, you can do it, kind of like a really good coach. When I connect to information that is low frequency, it's like information that tries to create separation and fears and disempowerment. So I think that it's always like coming back to the body and how you feel when you receive information.
I really love that, and I think the body tells us so much more too than what we always give it credit for. And there are psychic types that are not sensitive to external stimulus of energy. I feel my internal energy really well, and when I shut my eyes, I can feel external energy very well. But I've also taught myself to cut myself off of that. I would go into places where a lot of other people feel psychic phenomenon. Like when I was with my friend William in Fincastle, his office has a lot of like negative entities there, and everyone's felt it. But I go there, didn't even think about it, didn't feel it, didn't
I love
think
that.
about it. Yeah. So
yes,
some of us who are in that boat, who might not be able to feel the body, is there some mental process? Because usually people who don't feel external energy are less empathic, and people who are usually less empathic, in my experience at least, um, rely on their emotions less than
yeah.
people who are empathic. So how would we work with the mental aspects of that? Someone who's very logical and is like, hey, I'm getting information. I need to know if it's good. I need to know if it's bad. I know you touched on that too, by just hearing what information's coming in and weighing that against the vibration of what it's saying. But is there any other aspects like that you've seen other people bump into that you were able to kind of help them figure out how to get through that hurdle?
Yes, like the people that have more mental construct, sometimes I find that they can be really Arcturians at time, or like Syrians as well, or other, of course, galactics. When I connect more with Palladian frequencies, it's so much easier for them to feel, it's like feel through the body. But when it comes to that, it is like continue asking why and why and why to the source of information flowing through you. So why is this important? Why is this coming through me? Why is this relevant? Because when you get to the bottom of that, or when you start going deeper, what I have experienced myself, for example, in the past, is that I used to, before I was trance channeling, I always channel one of my guides. And one day I had this new guide come. And this new guide, from what I perceive, through all my senses and my vision, this new guide was like really super cool. He looked like a young angel, looking very handsome, and like I really I was drawn to his energy because he was really cool, like the awesome popular kid you wanted to be friends with in high school. And so I started channeling him, but I was channeling him, and like his answers were pretty pathetic, to be honest.
Oh, no.
They were not really precise. It was a little bit all over, and he was often laughing in a weird way. And I was like, there is something's going on there, It was like, I don't know, like maybe 14 years ago. And one day as I was outside, on my deck, and I was actually I was smoking weed, I remember that time. And then I just like instantly he was next to me, and I looked at him and I was like, look, something is up with you. Like, who are you? Why are you here? And he would not really answer. And I kept on saying, why are you here? Why are you sharing this information? Why are you not more precise? And because of this very strong direction of my mind of wanting to go to the bottom of like, who is he? Like, why is he sharing this information that is pretty much like not such good information? Then his true face got revealed, and actually, like instantly, I felt a shift in frequency, and he was not looking as he was looking before, but he shifted into this gigantic. It's not really like a demon, but it was more like a joker. Like these kind of souls that are in the in between, and they're just like they have a big ego. They like to take space, and basically they invade the channels of people that like precision, and they share all sorts of bullshit because people don't realize that these beings are not really beings of the light. They are like parasites in a way. And as soon
Like
as
a
I
prankster
realized,
being.
yeah, prankster. And I was like, how fucking dare you? Like, I was channeling him for like 2 months. I did it in public twice, and it was really not good. So I was really
Oh.
upset, and I told him like, you go away and never come back, and I don't want you to do anything like that with anyone. Like, just go back to where you come from, like leave humans alone. And he left, and he never came back. But actually I used that straight away. Instead of feeling like I was a bad channel, I like precision, I was like, great, that's an amazing learning tool that I can share with others. So I straight away, pretty much in the next channeling group session, I say, look, this is what happened. And when people actually really appreciated my honesty and my authenticity and my integrity in saying like, this is what can happen, and I've learned from this. So keep asking why do you give me this information? Where is it coming from? Because beings of the light are going to continue answering. They might say, my beloved human, you are so lovely, but you do not need to understand everything right now. Like, your consciousness cannot comprehend the bigger picture. You will receive in your own time. But they kind of like answer in a very loving, kind way. And we need to realize as humans that like our brain is very little. Yes, it's very performant, and we're receiving many upgrades, but still, it's the infinite quantum out there. So we will never know everything. It's impossible. So it's like, taking a step back and realizing that we will receive the piece of information we need always at the right time. And if it feels good, if it's empowering, then that's the information we can keep. If it's a piece of information that is basically, again, creating more problems than solutions, or even feeling more love in general, more courage, more confidence, more faith in life, more connection with other humans, then that information is probably coming from a source that is not really of loving frequency.
And I really love that you took that example and shared it with other people. It shows a lot about your own belief in channelers not being this pedestaled energy that should be praised and looked at. And this is something that I really appreciated you right from the get-go. I know we had talked about that. How channeling can be so distorted when people believe that they're the one and only, the best thing, the only right information in town, and everything like that. So it's really nice that you shared that experience of having a not so great channeling experience with others to learn. We could continue to talk for hours. We've done it
Yes.
before, but I know you have to go a little early tonight too. So before I give the floor to you to kind of share with everyone. I want to go through the lightning round with you, just a few really quick benevolent questions to help people get to know you better as a person. And if that's
Yeah.
okay, we'll do that.
Excellent. Thank you, Rob. I love that.
All right, beautiful. What's your favorite color?
Red.
Red. I love it. What's your favorite food?
Fruits.
Any and all?
Mm, it changes with seasons, I would say.
I see. I see. And there's not one that just stands above the rest.
Yes, mangoes, definitely. Fresh mango. I
Those
love
are pretty
mangoes.
amazing. Do
Yes.
those grow naturally in New Zealand?
No, they don't. It's imported.
I see. I see. Um, what is your favorite song and or band?
I actually love house and techno music, and I do go out quite a bit to dance because it makes me very happy.
Oh, nice. I love that.
Yeah, I love clubbing.
Oh, what's your favorite animal?
Ooh, here I don't want to betray any of my pets, so it's equally cats and dogs.
Oh, you gotta love the pets. And
Yeah.
what is your favorite place that you've ever been in nature for both the beauty of that nature, but also the feeling, the vibration of the nature?
Oh, it's very easy. It's a location that is not too far from my house here in Wellington. I call it Dragon Point. It's by the sea, it's the overlooking mountains, and the energy is just next level, and it's so beautiful. I absolutely love it there.
I've always wanted to go to New Zealand because
Yeah.
it's always so gorgeous, and every time I see it, I'm
Yes,
always
it's
like, God,
amazing.
that's gorgeous.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, well, thank you for sharing that. And the last question is, what's your favorite childhood memory?
My favorite child. When my mom would play on the piano, she was a very good pianist. She would play this song that was very quiet to start with, and my sister, my sibling, my sister, and my brother would just like tiptoe around, and then the song became crazy, and we just run around like crazy, and we would strip off. We were very little, and we'd run naked around the house and go in the garden and scream like wild animals. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for sharing those answers. I've been lucky enough to get to know you as a person and really connect with you on that level. And I hope everyone got a little taste of that tonight. Um, First of all, thank you for being you. Thank you for being an amazing, loving, beautiful soul. You're just awesome. I really appreciate you and love you, and I'm so grateful you had an opportunity to come and hang out with us tonight. But also, thank you for doing the work that you do and helping people get through the hurdles of trying to make their connections better and channeling. It's just something not a lot of us as channelers do. So thank you for that. And I want to give you an opportunity to share with everyone, how do they get a hold of you? How do they find you? How do they look through the types of services, work? How do they look through your channeling? And I know we have some links down below, but uh, you know, anything that you have coming up, anything that you want to share about your work, just please feel free.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rob, for your words. I really love you and I admire you a lot. I have the highest respect for you, everything that you create, and you're such an epic channel. I
Oh,
really
thank you.
always love, like hearing you channel. It's so deep, profound, precise, and loving. Can really feel love radiating from you. So thank you as well for everything that you do. And I'm really happy that we got to meet and become friends. And
Me too.
yeah, it's nice connecting in human form.
I
And
love it. And thank you for
I
that. That's very kind.
that's I wanted to share like I have a show so that's called the Golden Age Spiritual Ministry Live, and I go live every Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, and that's on my YouTube channel. And I also do a lot of spontaneous lives on Instagram. I really love sharing, and I feel really cool to do so, like freely at the moment. And so, if people want just to connect and receive, I have quite a big database on YouTube and on Instagram, as well as on my website. I have a lot of free things that I offer. I also run like shorter group programs. Like I have Dragon Warrior Codex, which is all about leadership, stepping into your courage, amplifying your vortex. That's starting tomorrow for 6 weeks. People can still join. And then I have my School of Channeling, and that's always running. That's a 1-year certification program to become an extraordinary channel of light. And we meet nearly weekly, and it's such an amazing group of people. And we do all sorts of group practices. We do also pranayama, embodiment practices, and I trance channel there, and it's a lot of also content delivery. So we go very deep on different subjects to help people not only channel for themselves but also for other people. So it's very aligned to people who are already working as psychic healers, sound healers, Reiki masters, and the rest. I find that it's really helping people up-leveling their skills and serve more people. So if anyone is interested, I'm always happy to chat, and connect to people. I love it.
Well, I'm grateful for the work that you do, and you guys can always go check out the website and the social links below, and check out all the work that she's doing right now. Cendrine, thank you again for being here. I really appreciate you being here, and I look forward to doing this again and connecting again with you. I'm glad we've been able to be friends, and I really look forward to the rest of our friendship.
Amazing. Thank you for your words, Rob. I send you lots of love. Thank you, everyone, for listening. It's great to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you too, and thank all of you guys for being here. Next week we are going to be back at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern. That's 7 Pacific time. We are here most every week unless it's December, which let's not get started on that, guys, or part of January. But we're going to be back every week that we can. For every week this year, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern, that's 7 Pacific on the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. I am your host, Rob Goth here, and I will see you guys next week on the other side. Love you guys. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you guys then.